The gun pressed against Maria's temple, cold and unwavering. She didn't flinch. Around her, the diner erupted in screams as two masked figures stormed through the door, weapons drawn. Plates shattered on the floor. A child wailed. But Maria stood perfectly still behind the counter, her hands visible, her breathing steady. Everyone on the ground. Now! The first robber shouted, his voice cracking with adrenaline. Maria lowered herself slowly, her eyes tracking the movements of both men. The second robber, taller and broader, moved toward the register while his partner kept the gun trained on the crowd. Maria noticed the slight tremor in the gunman's hand. Amateur. Desperate. That made him more dangerous. You, the taller one barked at Maria. Open the register. Move. Maria rose smoothly and approached the cash register. Her fingers moved across the keys with practiced efficiency. The drawer popped open with a mechanical chime that seemed absurdly cheerful given the circumstances. Faster. The gunman's voice pitched higher. The register is old, Maria said calmly. It takes a moment. Her voice carried across the silent diner. In the back corner, a man in an expensive suit raised his head slightly. He had been reading a newspaper when the robbers entered, and unlike the other customers, he hadn't thrown himself to the floor. Instead, he sat frozen, his coffee cup halfway to his lips, his eyes locked on Maria. The cup slipped from his fingers and shattered against the table. The gunman spun toward the sound. I said don't move. Sorry, the man said quietly. But his eyes never left Maria. Maria began placing bills into the bag the taller robber thrust at her. 20s. 10s. 5s. Her movements were mechanical, unhurried. There's a safe in the back, the gunman said. I know there is. Take us there. There's no safe, Maria replied evenly. Don't lie to me. He grabbed her arm roughly. I'm not lying. The owner takes deposits daily. What you see is what's here. The robber's grip tightened. You think I'm stupid? This place has been here 20 years. There's a safe. Maria met his eyes through the mask. You're not stupid. You're just wrong. Something in her tone made him hesitate. The confidence. The complete absence of fear. It didn't match the situation. He glanced at his partner, suddenly uncertain. The man in the suit stood slowly. Both robbers' weapons swung toward him. Sit down, the gunman screamed. I need to leave, the man said. His accent was thick, Mediterranean, each word carefully enunciated. You're not going anywhere. I am. The man's voice carried absolute certainty. He took a step toward the door. The gunman's finger tightened on the trigger. One more step and I'll shoot. Maria spoke then, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. You won't shoot him. Everyone froze. The gunman turned back to her. What did you say? You won't shoot anyone. You're not a killer. You're scared, you need money, and you made a mistake coming here. But you're not going to hurt anyone. You don't know what I'll do. I do. Maria's voice remained steady. Because if you were going to shoot, you would have already. You're holding that gun so tight your hand is shaking. You're breathing too fast. And you keep looking at the door, planning your escape. Killers don't plan escapes before they've gotten what they came for. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the child had stopped crying. The man in the suit took another step. Then another. The robbers watched him, paralyzed by indecision, as he walked steadily toward the exit. He paused at the door, his hand on the handle, and looked back at Maria. Rossellini, he said. Just one word. Maria's expression didn't change. Wrong person. No. The man shook his head slowly. Not wrong. Never wrong. He pushed through the door and disappeared into the street. The spell broke. The taller robber grabbed the bag of money and bolted for the back exit. His partner stood for one more second, gun still pointed at Maria, then turned and ran after him. The diner remained silent for 5 full seconds after the door slammed shut. Then chaos erupted. People scrambled to their feet, shouting, crying, pulling out phones. Someone was calling 911. Someone else was checking on the child. Maria walked calmly to the door, locked it, and flipped the sign to closed. She returned to the counter and began cleaning up broken dishes. A middle-aged woman approached her, trembling. How did you do that? How were you so calm? I've seen worse, Maria said simply. You saved that man's life. When you distracted them, you saved him. Maria didn't respond. She swept glass into a dustpan with steady hands. The police arrived within minutes. Officers poured through the door, taking statements, securing the scene. A detective approached Maria, notebook ready. You're the waitress who confronted the robbers? I didn't confront them. I spoke to them. Walk me through what happened. Maria recounted the events in precise detail. The detective scribbled notes, occasionally looking up at her with barely concealed amazement. And this man who walked out during the robbery, the detective said. Did you know him? No. He spoke to you. Said a name. What was it? I don't remember. The detective studied her face. You remember everything else perfectly. I was stressed. Things get blurry. MS. He glanced at his notes. Ms. Santos. This man could be a witness. We need to identify him. I can't help you. The detective sighed and handed her his card. If you remember anything, call me. You did a brave thing today. Stupid, but brave. After the police left and the other witnesses had been interviewed and released, Maria's manager approached her. Take the rest of the week off, he said. Paid. You've earned it. I'm fine to work. Maria, you had a gun pointed at your head. Take some time. She nodded, untied her apron, and gathered her things. As she stepped into the late afternoon sun, a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. The back window rolled down, revealing the man from the diner. Get in, he said. I don't think so. Please. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Rossellini, he said again. That name means something to you. Maria's jaw tightened. You're mistaken. 15 years ago. Sicily. A villa outside Palermo. You were 12 years old. He paused. You sang at dinner. Maria's hand clenched around her purse strap. I don't know what you're talking about. Your voice hasn't changed. I would know it anywhere. The man leaned forward. I am Salvatore Russo. Your father saved my life. Now I need to save yours. My father died 15 years ago. Yes. Because of what he did for me. Salvatore's expression was grave. And the men who killed him are looking for you. Maria stood very still. A bus rumbled past. A mother with a stroller hurried by, oblivious to the conversation. Why now? Maria asked quietly. After all these years, why now? Because you made yourself visible today. That scene in the diner will be on the news. Social media. Everywhere. And there are people who have been searching for Antonio Rossellini's daughter for a very long time. I'm nobody. I'm a waitress in New Jersey. You are the last living heir to one of Sicily's most powerful families. Your father made enemies when he helped me. Those enemies have long memories. Maria finally met his eyes. If you're telling the truth, then you should drive away and forget you saw me. Because I left that life behind. I'm not going back. You don't have a choice anymore. They will find you within 48 hours. The only question is whether you'll be ready when they do. A police car drove slowly past. The officer glanced at the Mercedes, then at Maria, his hand instinctively moving toward his radio. Salvatore saw it too. Get in the car, Maria. Or die in your apartment tomorrow night. Your decision. Maria looked at the detective's card still clutched in her hand. She could walk away right now. Flag down the police car. Return to her normal life, and hope Salvatore was wrong. But she knew he wasn't wrong. She had recognized the signs even as she'd denied them. The strange car parked across from her building for the past 3 days. The man who'd asked too many questions at the bodega. The feeling of being watched. They had already found her. Salvatore was just confirming what she already knew. She opened the car door and slid inside. Before we dive into what happens next, if you're already hooked by Maria's story and want to see how courage under pressure can completely change someone's destiny, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, what's about to unfold will show you why staying calm in chaos is a superpower most people never develop. You won't want to miss a single moment of this journey. Now, let's see where Salvatore is really taking her. The Mercedes pulled smoothly into traffic. Salvatore poured espresso from a silver thermos and handed her a cup. Maria ignored it. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere we can talk without interruption. Talk about what? My father's been dead 15 years. Whatever debts existed, they died with him. That's not how blood feuds work. You know this. Maria stared out the window at the familiar streets of her neighborhood sliding past. The bodega where she bought milk. The park where she sometimes ate lunch. The ordinary, anonymous life she'd built brick by brick. Tell me about the men in the diner, Salvatore said. The robbers. What about them? They weren't random. They came specifically to that diner at that time. They knew about a safe that doesn't exist. Maria's head snapped toward him. How do you know about the safe? Because I asked around after I saw you yesterday. I wanted to understand the business, the neighborhood, the patterns. No one mentioned a safe. So how did they know about one? Maybe they were just wrong. Maybe. Or maybe someone sent them to test you, to see how you'd react under pressure. The implications settled over Maria like ice water. You think they were connected to the people looking for me? I think the timing is convenient. I appear at your workplace for the first time in 15 years. Within 24 hours, armed men stage a robbery that forces you to reveal your training. I'm a waitress. I don't have training. Salvatore smiled sadly. You assessed 2 armed men in seconds. Identified the weak points in their psychology. Maintained absolute calm under direct threat. And you did it all without thinking, as naturally as breathing. Antonio trained you well. Maria said nothing. The truth of it was irrefutable. The men who killed your father are called the Albanese family, Salvatore continued. They run operations throughout Europe and now in America. Drugs, weapons, trafficking. Your father witnessed something he shouldn't have. He came to me for protection, gave me information that helped bring down 3 of their captains. In exchange, I promised to keep his family safe. You failed. The words hung between them, sharp and accusatory. Yes, Salvatore said quietly. I failed. We moved your family to a safe house in Calabria. But someone betrayed us. They found you within a week. Your parents died buying you time to escape. I've spent 15 years trying to find you, to make good on my promise. And now, finally, I have a chance to keep you alive. The Mercedes turned onto a highway entrance ramp, leaving the city behind. You never answered my question, Maria said. Where are we going? A compound upstate. Secure. 20 men, all loyal to me. You'll stay there while we handle the situation. Handle it how? By eliminating the threat. Maria laughed bitterly. You're going to start a war with the Albanese family because you saw me in a diner? I'm going to finish a war that should have ended 15 years ago. They broke the peace by targeting you. Now there are consequences. The car accelerated onto the highway. Maria watched the speedometer climb and felt the life she'd built receding with every mile. I have a shift tomorrow, she said absurdly. You'll never work in that diner again. The finality of it struck her. Her apartment. Her job. Her carefully constructed identity. All of it was gone, erased in an instant by the echo of her father's choices. I need to make a call, Maria said. No calls. No contact with anyone from your old life. They'll be monitoring everything. I need to tell my manager I'm not coming back. He'll figure it out. Maria's hands curled into fists. You can't just kidnap me. I'm not kidnapping you. I'm saving you. There's a difference. Then let me out. Right now. Salvatore met her eyes in the rearview mirror. If you truly want to leave, I'll stop the car. But understand this. If you walk away, you're on your own. I can't protect someone who won't be protected. And the Albanese family is already moving. They have resources you can't imagine. Reach you can't escape. Your only chance is with me. The driver took an exit toward less populated areas. Woods thickened on either side of the road. Maria's phone buzzed in her purse. She pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number. We know who you are. We know where you live. You have 24 hours to meet our terms or your life is forfeit. She showed the screen to Salvatore. He nodded grimly. Faster than I expected. They must have facial recognition running on the robbery footage. He leaned forward to his driver. Carlo, take the back route. Assume we're being followed. The driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. Already on it, boss. Maria watched the road behind them. She saw nothing suspicious, but that meant nothing. Modern surveillance was invisible until it was too late. What terms? She asked. What do they want? Your testimony. Your father told you things before he died, didn't he? Names. Dates. Locations. Information that could bring down their entire operation. Maria's silence was answer enough. They need to know what you know, Salvatore continued. And whether you've shared it with anyone. Then they'll kill you regardless because you're a liability. Antonio Rossellini's daughter can never be allowed to live free. I was 12 years old. I don't remember details. You remember enough. I can see it in your eyes. The Mercedes turned onto a narrow private road. Trees closed in around them, branches creating a tunnel of green. After 2 miles, they reached a gate with armed guards. The guards recognized the car and waved them through. Beyond the gate, a sprawling estate emerged. Stone buildings clustered around a central villa. Men in dark suits moved with purpose between structures. Security cameras tracked every angle. The car stopped in front of the main building. Salvatore opened the door and extended his hand to Maria. She stepped out into another world. The air smelled different here, cleaner, touched with pine. Birds sang in the trees. But beneath the peaceful facade, Maria sensed the tension. This was a fortress preparing for war. A woman emerged from the villa, older, elegant, with sharp eyes that assessed Maria in seconds. "This is Teresa," Salvatore said. "She'll show you to your room and provide everything you need." "Mr. Russo," Teresa said with a slight Italian accent. "The others are waiting in the conference room. Tell them 5 minutes." Teresa nodded and gestured for Maria to follow her inside. The villa's interior was surprisingly beautiful. Marble floors, antique furniture, artwork that looked genuinely valuable. But the windows had bulletproof glass, and the doors were reinforced steel beneath their wood veneer. Teresa led Maria upstairs to a spacious bedroom overlooking the gardens. "There are clothes in the closet that should fit," Teresa said. "Bathroom is through there. Dinner is at 7. Someone will come for you." "I'm not a guest," Maria said. "I'm a prisoner." Teresa's expression softened slightly. "You're someone being kept alive. Whether that feels like hospitality or imprisonment is up to you." She paused at the door. "Mr. Russo is a good man. He takes his debts seriously. Your father trusted him once. You could do worse than to trust him now." After Teresa left, Maria explored the room. The closet indeed contained clothing in her size. The bathroom had fresh towels and expensive toiletries. Everything she might need for an extended stay. She sat on the bed and finally allowed herself to feel the weight of what had happened. This morning she'd been a waitress in New Jersey. Now she was hidden in a mob boss's compound, waiting for a war to begin. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. "Clock is ticking, Maria Rossellini. 23 hours. She turned the phone off and threw it across the room. Through the window, she watched the sun sink toward the horizon. Guards patrolled the perimeter. Dogs moved through the gardens. Everything was designed to keep threats out. But Maria knew the truth. The real threat wasn't outside these walls. It was inside her head, in the memories she'd spent 15 years trying to forget. Names and faces. Conversations overheard through closed doors. Her father's final words as he'd shoved her through a window and told her to run. She had information that could destroy the Albanese family. And they would tear apart anyone who stood between them and her silence. Maria stood and walked to the window. In the fading light, she saw Salvatore emerge from the villa and cross the courtyard to an outbuilding. 4 men followed him, all armed, all alert. She was in the middle of something she didn't fully understand. But one thing was clear: running was no longer an option. The only way out was through, and through meant confronting the ghosts she'd been hiding from for 15 years. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Teresa entered carrying a tray with food. "You should eat," she said, setting it on a small table. "You'll need your strength." "For what?" "For whatever comes next." Teresa moved to leave, then paused. "Mr. Russo asked me to tell you something. He said your father's last words to him were protect Maria. She's stronger than she knows. He's been looking for you all this time to fulfill that promise." After Teresa left, Maria stared at the food without appetite. Her father's words echoed in her memory, mixing with Teresa's message. Strong. She'd never felt strong. She'd felt like a frightened child running from shadows. But today in the diner, she'd faced down armed men without flinching. She'd read their fear and used it against them. She'd been calm when everyone else panicked. Maybe her father had been right. Maria picked up a piece of bread and forced herself to eat. If Salvatore was preparing for war, she needed to be ready too. Because whether she liked it or not, she was at the center of it. Outside, darkness fell over the compound. Lights came on around the perimeter, harsh and bright. In the distance, she heard the sound of car engines. More men arriving. More weapons being distributed. More pieces moving into position on a chessboard she could barely see. Maria finished eating and opened the closet. She selected dark clothing, practical shoes. If she needed to move, she'd be ready. Then she sat by the window and waited for whatever dawn would bring. The morning sun brought clarity and danger in equal measure. Maria woke to find Teresa standing over her bed with a breakfast tray and an urgent expression. "Mr. Russo needs to see you immediately," Teresa said. Maria dressed quickly and followed her downstairs to a conference room where Salvatore sat surrounded by maps, photographs, and computer screens. 3 other men stood nearby, all watching Maria with undisguised curiosity. Salvatore dismissed them with a gesture. "Leave us." When they were alone, he pushed a photograph across the table toward Maria. It showed a man in his 50s, lean and dangerous looking, with cold eyes. "Gregor Albanese," Salvatore said. the current head of the family. He arrived in New York yesterday. Maria studied the photo. Because of me? Because of what you represent. Your father's testimony was never used in court because he died before the trial. But the Albanese family has always suspected he told you things. Secrets that could still hurt them today. Why didn't they come for me before now? Because you disappeared perfectly. No trail. No identity. You became a ghost. But yesterday you showed your face in public, demonstrated training that only Antonio Rossellini's daughter would have, and attracted my attention. That's 3 red flags all at once. Gregor would have to be blind to miss them. Maria sat down heavily. So what happens now? Now we negotiate. Or we fight. Gregor has requested a meeting. Neutral ground. Today at noon. You're not seriously considering it? I'm absolutely considering it. War is expensive and unpredictable. If we can reach an accommodation, everyone benefits. Except me. I'm what they want. Salvatore met her eyes. I won't trade you. That's not negotiable. But there might be other arrangements we can make. Assurances. Guarantees of silence in exchange for guaranteed safety. You think they'd honor that? I think Gregor is a businessman. He doesn't want a war any more than I do. If we can give him what he needs without bloodshed, he'll take it. One of Salvatore's men burst through the door without knocking. Boss, we have a problem. The diner from yesterday, it's on fire. Witnesses say 3 men in a van threw incendiaries through the windows and drove off. Salvatore's expression hardened. Casualties. Building was empty. They knew it would be. This was a message. Maria felt her stomach drop. My manager. My co-workers. Are they okay? Everyone's fine. But the message is clear. The Albanese family is burning your old life to the ground. Making sure you understand there's nothing to go back to. Salvatore stood and began pacing. This changes things. Gregor is more aggressive than I thought. He's not interested in negotiation. He's applying pressure. Then we don't meet him, Maria said. It's obviously a trap. Or it's a test. He wants to see if we're strong enough to show up anyway. Another man entered, this one carrying a tablet. Boss, you need to see this. He turned the tablet so everyone could see. It showed security camera footage from outside Maria's apartment building. A van parked across the street. 3 men got out, picked the lock on the building's front door, and disappeared inside. 12 minutes later, they emerged carrying boxes and bags. They cleared out your apartment, the man said. Took everything. Documents, photos, electronics. They're building a profile on you. Maria's hands trembled. Her entire life, stripped away in 12 minutes. What about my neighbors? Did they hurt anyone? No casualties reported. They were surgical. In and out. Salvatore put a hand on Maria's shoulder. I'm sorry. I know this is difficult. But we need to focus on the immediate threat. The meeting with Gregor is in 3 hours. I need to know what you remember about your father's information. What specifically did he tell you? Maria closed her eyes. She'd spent 15 years trying to forget. Now she was being asked to remember. He told me about shipments, she said quietly. Container ships coming through Palermo harbor. Numbers. Dates. He made me memorize them. He said if anything happened to him, I should tell the police. What else? Names. Government officials who were being paid to look the other way. Judges. Port authorities. Even some police. He said the corruption went all the way to the top. Salvatore exchanged glances with his men. Do you still remember the names? Some of them. Maybe most of them. I tried to forget, but they're still there. That's what Gregor wants. Those names represent his entire operations infrastructure. If they're exposed, everything collapses. So give him what he wants, Maria said bitterly. I don't care about those people. I just want to live. It's not that simple. The moment you give up that information, you become worthless to him. No leverage means no protection. You'd be dead within the hour. Maria's phone, which she'd left on the conference table, suddenly buzzed to life despite being turned off. A video call request from an unknown number. Salvatore picked it up and answered. Gregor Albanese's face filled the screen. Salvatore, Gregor said in accented English. And the famous Maria Rossellini. How convenient to find you both together. What do you want, Gregor? I want the girl. You know this. The question is how much blood gets spilled before I get her. I'm offering you a chance to avoid the bloodshed. Bring her to the meeting. We'll talk. Maybe we all walk away alive. Maybe, Salvatore repeated. Not exactly a compelling guarantee. Nothing in life is guaranteed. But I give you my word as a businessman. Maria tells me what she knows. If it matches what I already suspect, I let her go. She disappears, I never look for her again. And if it doesn't match? Gregor smiled coldly. Then we have a different conversation. Maria leaned into view of the camera. You burned down the diner. Robbed my apartment. You've already decided to kill me. Why should I believe anything you say? Because I'm being honest about my intentions. Unlike Salvatore, who's filling your head with false hope. You think he can protect you? He couldn't protect your father. He couldn't protect your mother. What makes you different? That's enough, Salvatore said, reaching to end the call. One more thing, Gregor interrupted. The meeting location has changed. I'll send coordinates 1 hour before. Come alone, both of you. Any backup, any weapons, any tricks, and people start dying. Not just you two. Everyone you care about. I have people watching Salvatore's entire family. His grandchildren go to school in Manhattan. It would be a shame if something happened to them. The call ended. Salvatore slammed the phone down on the table. He's bluffing. My family is protected. Are you sure? Maria asked. Are you willing to bet their lives on it? The question hung in the air. Through the window, Maria could see more men arriving at the compound. The army was growing, but so was the target on everyone's backs. We need a different plan, one of Salvatore's men said. This meeting is suicide. No, Salvatore replied. The meeting is an opportunity. Gregor wants to see fear. We give him confidence instead. We show up, we talk, we walk away. And while we're doing that, you're executing the real plan. He spread a map on the table and began pointing to locations. Gregor's operation in New York runs through 3 main hubs. Here, here, and here. Warehouses. Distribution centers. While he's focused on us, you hit all 3 simultaneously. Seize the inventory, burn what you can't carry, and make sure everyone knows the Albanese family just lost millions in product. Boss, that's an act of war. We're already at war. He declared it when he threatened my grandchildren. Now we're just choosing the battlefield. Maria watched the planning unfold. These men spoke casually about violence and destruction, as if discussing business strategy. Which, she realized, this was their business. What about me, she asked. Salvatore looked up. You come to the meeting. You're the bait that keeps Gregor's attention focused while my men work. But you won't be defenseless. He gestured to one of his men, who brought over a small handgun. Do you know how to use this? Maria took the weapon, checked the chamber, released the magazine, examined it, and slammed it back in with practiced efficiency. My father taught me when I was 10. Salvatore smiled grimly. Good. Keep it hidden. If things go wrong, don't hesitate. The next 2 hours were spent in preparation. Maria was fitted with a thin bulletproof vest under her clothing. A tracking device was sewn into her shoe. She was drilled on emergency protocols and escape routes. At 11 o'clock, the coordinates arrived via text message. An abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Waterfront. Minimal cover. Maximum exposure. Perfect place for an ambush, one of Salvatore's men muttered. Or perfect place to ensure no one tries one, Salvatore countered. Gregor's paranoid. He chose somewhere he can control all the angles. They left the compound in a convoy of 3 cars. Maria rode with Salvatore in the middle vehicle. The drive took 90 minutes through increasing traffic. As they approached Brooklyn, Salvatore's phone rang continuously with updates. His teams were in position at the 3 warehouse locations, waiting for the signal. Remember, Salvatore said to Maria as they neared the meeting point. Stay calm. Answer his questions truthfully but vaguely. We're buying time, not giving him everything at once. And if he doesn't accept that, then we improvise. The warehouse came into view. Massive. Decrepit. Windows broken or covered with grime. A perfect place for people to disappear. 3 black SUVs were already parked outside. Men with obvious weapons stood guard at the entrance. This is insane, Maria whispered. Yes, Salvatore agreed. But sometimes insanity is the only rational response to an irrational situation. They got out of the car. Gregor's men immediately moved forward, hands on weapons. Just the 2 of you, one of them said in heavily accented English. Boss's orders. Salvatore gestured for his men to stay with the cars. He and Maria walked alone toward the warehouse entrance. Inside, the space was cavernous and dark. Shafts of light pierced through holes in the roof, creating dramatic shadows. Gregor waited in the center, flanked by 4 men with automatic weapons. Salvatore, Gregor said. You came. I'm impressed. And you brought the girl. even more impressed. We're here to talk. So talk. Gregor circled them slowly, appraising. Maria Rossellini. You look like your mother. Same eyes. Same stubborn expression. Your father had that expression too, right before I killed him. Maria's hand moved instinctively toward the gun hidden in her waistband. Salvatore's hand on her arm stopped her. The past is past, Salvatore said. We're here about the future. The future is simple. Maria tells me what Antonio told her. I verify it against my own records. If she's telling the truth, she walks away and we never speak again. If she's lying, or if she's shared this information with authorities, then we have a problem. I haven't told anyone anything, Maria said. I was 12 years old. I wanted to forget everything about that life. But you didn't forget. You can't. That's not how memory works. Gregor pulled out a chair and sat down. So let's begin. The shipments your father knew about. Container numbers. Dates. Tell me. Maria glanced at Salvatore, who nodded slightly. She began reciting the information. Numbers and dates poured out of her mouth, pulled from a memory she'd tried to bury. Gregor listened intently, occasionally making notes on a tablet. After 15 minutes, he held up a hand. Stop. That's enough for now. He consulted his tablet. These numbers match my records perfectly, which means either you're telling the truth, or someone gave you access to very classified information. I'm telling the truth. Perhaps. Now the names. Officials on the payroll. Who did your father tell you about? This was more dangerous territory. Names meant people. People who could be warned or eliminated. I only remember a few, Maria said carefully. It was a long time ago. Tell me what you remember. Maria listed 3 names. 2 judges and a port official. All of them already dead, according to information Salvatore had provided during the drive. Gregor smiled. Interesting. All 3 of those men are conveniently deceased. Can't verify your information against their testimony. How convenient. I told you, I only remember some of it. Try harder. The gun pressed against the small of Maria's back suddenly felt heavy and obvious. She had the terrible feeling that Gregor knew it was there. That this entire meeting was theater, and the real play was yet to begin. There was a politician, she said. From Rome. Father called him the senator. He never mentioned a specific name. Description. Tall. Silver hair. Had a scar on his left hand. Gregor's expression changed minutely. Recognition. What else about this senator? He came to our house once. Father was afraid of him. They argued about money. About the amounts being paid and what they covered. The senator wanted more protection at different ports. Father said it was too dangerous to expand. Which ports? I don't know. I was listening through a door. They spoke in code. Gregor stood and paced. His men shifted position, weapons ready. The tension in the room ratcheted up several notches. You're being truthful, Gregor finally said. I can tell. But you're also holding back. There's more you're not saying. I've told you everything I remember clearly. The rest is fragments. Bits of conversation that might not even be real memories. When you're a scared child, your mind plays tricks. Your father's testimony would have destroyed us, Gregor said quietly. He knew too much, saw too much. The only reason we survived is because he died before he could talk. Now here you are, carrying all his secrets in your head, and I'm supposed to believe you'll just walk away and never speak of this again. Salvatore stepped forward. That was the deal. She tells you what she knows, you verify it, everyone walks away. I'm reconsidering the deal. The warehouse doors slammed open. Gregor's men spun toward the sound, weapons raised. A woman stood in the doorway, backlit by harsh sunlight. She walked forward slowly, hands visible and empty. As she entered the light, Maria recognized her. Teresa, what are you doing here? Salvatore demanded. Making sure this doesn't end badly for everyone, Teresa said calmly. She looked at Gregor. You need to know something about Maria before you make a decision you can't take back. Teresa, stop, Salvatore warned. No, he needs to hear this. She turned back to Gregor. Maria isn't just Antonio's daughter. She's also the granddaughter of Enzo Rossellini, the man who founded the commission that kept peace between the families for 40 years. His blood runs through her veins. If you kill her, you'll start a war that will consume everyone. Every family. Every territory. The old alliances will shatter, and we'll go back to the chaos of the 1970s. Gregor laughed bitterly. Enzo Rossellini is dead. His legacy died with him. His legacy is standing right in front of you. And there are people, powerful people, who still honor the old ways. They've been watching Maria from a distance, waiting to see if she'd reclaim her heritage. If you harm her, you'll answer to them. Who? Gregor demanded. Name these powerful people. The Camorra from Naples. The Ndrangheta from Calabria. Even elements within your own organization who remember the old peace and respect the old names. You kill Rossellini's granddaughter, and you'll fracture the Albanese family from within. The silence that followed was suffocating. Maria stared at Teresa, her mind reeling. Granddaughter? Her father had never mentioned this. Never hinted at such powerful lineage. Is this true? Maria whispered to Salvatore. He nodded slowly. I was going to tell you. When the time was right. The time is right now, Teresa said. Because Gregor needs to understand what's really at stake. Gregor's phone rang. He answered, listened for 30 seconds, and his face went pale. When? A pause. All three. Another pause. I'm on my way. He ended the call and fixed Salvatore with a murderous glare. Your men just hit my warehouses. Simultaneous raids. Millions in product destroyed. Interesting timing, Salvatore said mildly. You planned this. The meeting was a distraction. You threatened my grandchildren. I responded appropriately. Gregor's hand moved toward his weapon. His men raised their guns. Salvatore's hand went to his own firearm. Maria found her hand closing around the grip of her concealed gun. The tableau held for 5 eternal seconds. A dozen fingers on triggers. One wrong move and everyone died. Teresa's voice cut through the tension. Or we all put our guns down and acknowledge that we've reached a stalemate. You attack Salvatore, you answer to the families who protect Maria. Salvatore attacks you, you retaliate against his family. Maria dies, everyone loses. So why don't we find a solution where everyone lives? What solution? Gregor ground out. Maria gives you what you want. The full information, names and all. But she does it in a recorded statement that gets deposited with neutral parties. Insurance. If anything happens to her, the information goes public. If nothing happens to her, it stays sealed. You get certainty that she won't talk. She gets certainty that you won't kill her. Gregor considered this. Which neutral parties? The Commission. The Council of Families. They'll hold it in trust. The Commission is defunct. Then we resurrect it. With Maria as chair, honoring her grandfather's legacy. Maria's head spun. I don't want to chair anything. I just want to live. Sometimes we don't get to choose our inheritance, Teresa said gently. But we can choose how we use it. Can we just pause for a second? If you're watching this and realizing that Maria's entire life just flipped upside down, from a waitress running from her past to potentially leading a criminal empire, and you're thinking, I need to see how this ends, do yourself a favor and subscribe. Because here's the thing. This story is about to teach you something powerful about hidden potential and how the very thing you're running from might be exactly what you're meant to lead. Don't let YouTube's algorithm make you miss the ending. Hit subscribe, and let's find out if Maria accepts her destiny or walks away forever. Salvatore's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. My men have successfully withdrawn from all 3 warehouse locations. No casualties on our side. The product destruction is complete. If we want to continue this war, Gregor, I'm ready. But as Teresa says, we've reached a stalemate. Your move. Gregor holstered his weapon. His men reluctantly did the same. I want the full statement. Every name, every detail. And I want assurances that if this information leaks, I can trace it directly to the source. Agreed, Teresa said. But Maria needs assurances too. No retaliation. No accidents. No mysterious disappearances. She lives her life, and you live yours. And the warehouses I just lost, consider them payment for Antonio's life. Debt settled. Gregor's jaw clenched, but he nodded. I want the statement delivered within 48 hours. You'll have it in 24, Teresa promised. The meeting broke up. Gregor and his men left first, engines roaring as they sped away. Salvatore, Maria, and Teresa walked back to their cars in tense silence. Once they were mobile and headed back to the compound, Maria finally found her voice. You knew, both of you, about my grandfather, about the legacy, and you never told me. We were protecting you, Salvatore said. The less you knew about your heritage, the safer you were. Safer from what? I've been hunted for 15 years. Hunted by one family. If word had gotten out that you were Enzo Rossellini's heir, you would have been hunted by everyone. Some would want you dead to prevent the old power structure from returning. Others would want to control you, to use your name for their own purposes. We kept the secret to give you a chance at a normal life. How did you find out? Maria asked Teresa. I was there when your father came to Salvatore. I helped arrange the protection. I knew the whole story from the beginning. Teresa turned in her seat to face Maria. Your grandfather was an extraordinary man. He built something that brought stability to chaos. When he died, that stability crumbled. The families went back to fighting over territory and power. But the memory of what he built never died. There are people who would die for a chance to rebuild it. I don't want to rebuild anything. I want my life back. That life is gone, Teresa said bluntly. But you can build a new one. A better one. With real power to protect yourself and others. They arrived back at the compound as the sun set. Salvatore immediately convened a meeting with his top men to discuss the warehouse raids and their fallout. Teresa took Maria to a different room, this one filled with files and photographs. These are records of your grandfather's commission, Teresa explained. Every family that participated. Every agreement that was made. Every piece that was kept. I've been maintaining these records for 20 years, waiting for the right moment. Maria looked at the sheer volume of information. Decades of history, treaties, bloodlines, territories. You expect me to understand all this? I expect you to learn. You have time. We'll tutor you, guide you, help you understand the world your grandfather shaped. And when you're ready, you'll take your place at the head of the commission. And if I refuse? Teresa's expression softened. Then you refuse. No one will force you. But understand what refusing means. It means living in hiding forever. It means Gregor and men like him will always see you as a threat to be eliminated. It means never having real power to protect yourself. She paused. Your grandfather built the commission to stop the endless wars. He saved thousands of lives by creating structure and accountability. You have a chance to continue that work. Maria sank into a chair. Exhaustion weighed on her like physical force. 24 hours ago, she was a waitress. Now she was being asked to lead a shadow government. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow. The statement for Gregor needs to be prepared. You'll need to remember everything. Every name, every detail. This is your chance to purge all those secrets and use them as a shield instead of letting them be a target on your back. Teresa left Maria alone with the files. For hours, Maria paged through the documents. Photographs of men in expensive suits shaking hands. Maps of territories divided and negotiated. Contracts signed in blood and honor. Her grandfather's face appeared in many of the photos. A strong man with kind eyes. In one picture, he held a young girl on his lap. Maria recognized her mother. A knock on the door interrupted her research. Salvatore entered carrying 2 glasses of wine. You should rest, he said, handing her a glass. I can't. There's too much to process. Salvatore sat across from her. Your father would be proud of you. The way you handled yourself in the diner. The way you faced Gregor. You have Antonio's courage and Enzo's wisdom. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Arrogance gets you killed. They drank in silence for a moment. What happens after I give Gregor the statement? Maria asked. You decide what comes next. Stay here under protection. Return to a normal life under a new identity. Or accept Teresa's proposal and step into your grandfather's legacy. You think I should take the legacy. I think you're wasted as a waitress. But the choice has to be yours. Maria stared into her wine. The dark liquid reflected the lamplight in swirling patterns. Tell me about my grandfather. Not the legend. The man. Salvatore smiled, remembering. Enzo was a paradox. Ruthless when necessary, but genuinely kind. He believed in honor and structure because he'd seen what chaos produced. He built the commission after his own son was killed in a territory war. He decided no more children should die for their father's ambitions. Salvatore paused. He would have loved to meet you. To see what his son's daughter became. I'm nobody. I run away from conflict. You stood still while a gun pointed at your head. You read people like books. You kept your composure when most would have panicked. That's not nobody. That's exactly what a leader looks like. Another knock. One of Salvatore's men entered. Boss, we have a situation. 2 of Gregor's warehouses we didn't hit are being raided by federal agents. Right now. It's all over the news. Salvatore stood quickly and turned on a television mounted on the wall. News footage showed agents in tactical gear flooding into buildings, hauling out boxes and arrested men in handcuffs. Someone tipped them off, the man continued. And it wasn't us. Salvatore's phone rang. Gregor's face appeared on the screen. Did you do this? Gregor shouted. Was the meeting just cover for you to call in federal raids? I had nothing to do with it. We hit 3 locations. These raids are on different sites entirely. Then who? Maria's mind raced. Then the answer came to her. The politician. The senator. He thinks you're compromised because of me. He's cutting his losses and removing evidence before it can implicate him. Both men stared at her. She's right, Salvatore said slowly. If the senator thinks Maria talked, he'll assume Gregor's entire operation is exposed. He's protecting himself. Gregor's voice turned cold. Then we have a common enemy now. The senator needs to be dealt with before he destroys everything. Gregor, think carefully. If you move against a sitting politician, you bring down heat none of us can withstand. Then what do you suggest? Maria spoke up. I suggest we use the statement differently. Instead of just giving it to you for insurance, we give it to the commission. We make the senator know that his secrets are documented and protected. If he moves against any of us, the information goes public. That's deterrence. Gregor was silent for a long moment. You're talking about reconstituting the commission for Real. Not just as a storage facility. I'm talking about creating accountability. My grandfather built the commission to stop wars between families. Maybe it's time it also stopped wars between families and the government officials who think they can betray them without consequence. You're serious about this. I'm serious about staying alive. And so should you be. Gregor ended the call without another word. Salvatore looked at Maria with something like awe. You just brokered peace between 2 families and proposed a new power structure in the same breath. I'm improvising. No idea if it'll work. That's leadership. Solving problems in real time. Over the next 2 hours, calls were made. Families from across the country and Europe were contacted. The word spread. Enzo Rossellini's granddaughter was proposing to resurrect the commission. An emergency meeting was called for the following week. Teresa helped Maria prepare her statement. Every name, every detail, every piece of information her father had told her was recorded with perfect clarity. The statement filled 30 pages when transcribed. This is leverage, Teresa said, sealing the document in multiple tamper-proof envelopes. This is power. And this is your shield. At dawn, Maria stood in the garden watching the sun rise over the compound. She hadn't slept. Too much had changed too quickly. Salvatore joined her, carrying coffee. The meeting is arranged, he said. 7 days. Rome. Every major family will send representatives. They want to meet Enzo's heir. I'm not ready. You'll never be ready. But you'll do it anyway because the alternative is living in fear forever. Maria took the coffee and sipped it. Strong and bitter. Fitting. What if I fail? Then you fail with honor, trying to build something better. Your grandfather failed multiple times before the commission finally held. But he kept trying because the alternative was unacceptable. A car pulled up to the compound gate. Teresa got out and walked quickly toward them. We have a problem, she said without preamble. The senator. He just called a press conference. He's going public with allegations about organized crime figures threatening government officials. He's naming names. Did he name us? Salvatore asked. Not yet. But he will. He's building a narrative where he's the victim and we're the aggressors. Getting ahead of any revelations that might come from Maria's statement. Maria set down her coffee. Then we need to get ahead of him. Release the statement first. Show exactly who is on whose payroll. That starts a war we can't win, Salvatore warned. The government will come down on all of us. Unless we do it strategically. Release just enough to discredit the senator specifically without implicating anyone else. Show he was a corrupt actor working alone, not part of a systemic problem. Teresa pulled out her phone and started typing. I can leak it to journalists I trust. Frame it as an exposé of one bad politician. Let the senator take the fall alone. Do it, Maria said. Wait, Salvatore interjected. This is a major decision. You're sure? Maria thought of her father, killed for knowing too much. Her mother, murdered for being in the way. 15 years of running and hiding. All because powerful men thought they could act without consequences. I'm sure. The senator tried to sacrifice us to save himself. Now he pays the price. Teresa made the calls. Within 2 hours, journalists were receiving anonymous packages containing selected portions of Maria's statement. Enough to prove the senator's corruption. Not enough to expose the broader network. By noon, the senator's press conference was overshadowed by breaking news of his own financial crimes and foreign connections. His career imploded in real time on national television. Gregor called. Impressive. Surgical. The senator is done. He made himself an enemy of everyone, Maria replied. This is what happens. I'm starting to see why the families want you leading the commission. You think like your grandfather. I think like someone who's tired of running. After the call ended, Maria walked back to her room. She looked at the clothes Teresa had provided, the temporary life in this compound, the choice looming ahead. She could disappear again. Take a new identity, move somewhere remote, live quietly. Salvatore would help. The statement gave her enough leverage to ensure no one would look for her. Or she could accept the legacy. Step into her grandfather's shoes and try to build something meaningful from the chaos. Maria opened the files Teresa had given her. She spent the afternoon reading about her grandfather's work. The disputes he'd mediated. The wars he'd prevented. The lives he'd saved through structure and negotiation. By evening, she'd made her decision. She found Salvatore and Teresa in the conference room, planning security for the Rome meeting. I'll do it, Maria said. I'll chair the commission. Teresa smiled. Salvatore nodded with satisfaction. But on my terms, Maria continued. This isn't my grandfather's commission. It's a new version. We don't protect criminals. We hold them accountable. We don't enable corruption. We expose it. We become the check on power that prevents what happened to my family from happening to others. That's a dangerous vision, Salvatore warned. You'll make enemies. I already have enemies. At least this way I have power to fight back. The week before the Rome meeting passed in intense preparation. Maria was tutored in family histories, territorial agreements, past disputes and their resolutions. She learned the language of power and negotiation. She also trained, physically and mentally, preparing for a world where weakness meant death. On the day of departure, Teresa presented her with a gift. A ring that had belonged to Enzo Rossellini. Gold with a simple inscription in Italian. Strength through unity. Your grandfather wore this every day, Teresa said. It reminded him why he built the commission. Maria slipped it on. It fit perfectly. The flight to Rome was long and tense. Salvatore and Teresa briefed her continuously on who would attend, what their positions were, what they wanted. Remember, Salvatore said as they landed, you're not asking for permission. You're claiming what's yours by right. Confidence matters more than experience. The meeting was held in a villa outside Rome. Ancient and beautiful. Guards everywhere. Representatives from 17 families waited inside. Maria entered the main hall. Conversation stopped. All eyes turned to her. An old man stepped forward. Carlo Benedetti, head of the Camorra. We knew your grandfather, he said. You have his eyes. And his vision, I hope, Maria replied. They sat around a massive table. For 6 hours, they discussed structure, jurisdiction, dispute resolution, enforcement. Maria listened more than she spoke at first, learning the dynamics. Then a challenge came. Marco Albanese, Gregor's cousin, stood. Why should we follow Enzo's granddaughter? She has no experience. No territory. No soldiers. She's a symbol, nothing more. Maria stood to face him. My grandfather built the commission because he watched his son die in a meaningless war. I watched my parents die in another meaningless war. If symbols are what prevent more meaningless deaths, then I'll be the best symbol I can be. But I'm offering more than symbolism. I'm offering structure that protects all of us. Accountability that prevents government betrayal. And leverage to ensure we dictate terms instead of having terms dictated to us. Words, Marco scoffed. Then let me offer proof. Maria pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This contains financial records of 3 government officials who are currently being paid by various families at this table. I know who pays them, how much, and what for. This information is power. Shared power. If we work together, we can ensure these officials stay loyal and useful. If we work separately, we're vulnerable to betrayal. That's what the commission offers. Shared power. Shared protection. The room fell silent. Marco opened the folder, scanned it, and his face paled. Where did you get this? I have sources. Just like my grandfather did. The question is whether we use information like this to fight each other or to protect each other. Carlo Benedetti laughed, a sound like grinding stone. She has teeth. Good. The commission needs teeth. Over the next hour, the vote was called. 13 families voted to reconstitute the commission under Maria's leadership. 4 abstained. None voted against. Maria Rossellini became chair of the commission at 27 years old. If you've made it this far without subscribing, I honestly don't know what you're waiting for. Maria just went from hiding in plain sight to leading one of the most powerful organizations in the underworld. And if her story has taught you anything about turning your biggest fear into your greatest strength, then you need to subscribe to this channel. Because every single week, I bring you stories like this, stories about ordinary people who faced extraordinary circumstances and came out transformed. The question is, are you just going to watch this one story and disappear, or are you going to join a community that believes in the power of resilience? Subscribe now, because you're about to see how Maria's decision changes everything. Let's finish this. The celebration afterward was subdued. Everyone understood this was a beginning, not an ending. Challenges would come. Betrayals were inevitable. But for the first time in decades, structure existed. As Maria stood on the villa's terrace looking out over Rome, Salvatore joined her. "Your father would be proud," he said simply. "My father wanted me to be normal, to have a quiet life. He wanted you to be safe. Sometimes safety requires power." Maria touched the ring on her finger. "Do you think I can do this?" "Really? I think you already are." 3 months later, Maria returned to New Jersey. Not to hide, but to visit. The diner had been rebuilt. Under new management, but the same friendly atmosphere. She sat at the counter where she'd once worked. Ordered coffee. Watched people come and go, living ordinary lives. Her phone buzzed. A commission matter requiring attention. A dispute between families in Los Angeles that needed mediation. Maria smiled and sent a reply scheduling a conference call. Then she finished her coffee, left a generous tip, and walked out into the sunshine. She had a car waiting. A plane to catch. Work to do. The life she'd built wasn't the one she'd imagined. But it was hers. Earned through courage, maintained through wisdom, and dedicated to ensuring others wouldn't suffer as she had. As the car pulled away from the diner, Maria looked back one last time at the life she'd left behind. Then she turned forward, toward the life she'd chosen. The moral was clear. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from running from your past, but from embracing it and using it to build something better. Power without purpose is tyranny. But purpose with power can change the world. Maria Rossellini had found both. And she was just getting started.